How's it going, everybody? Mark Lozano here, Christ Center Capital. And today I want to talk a little bit about, or maybe a lot of bit, about kind of this transition that C3 has made, the response we've gotten, and our answer to some common questions. So the transition C3 made was we went from essentially a Christian stock picker to a more, to pretty much denouncing the stock market as a whole and pursuing an alternative route to Christian investing. And the response we got, we were a bit surprised because we thought we were going to get a lot of negative feedback and pushback, but we got a lot of positive feedback, and along with some really hard hitting questions. We, of course, had a lot of people opt out of financially giving to us. We had a lot of people, because, our stuff is always free at Christ Center Capital, so we're kind of supported by the generosity of others. We've had a lot of people stop supporting us financially, unsubscribe from the newsletter, that kind of thing. And that was to be expected, but we thought that was going to far outweigh the positive responses that we got. But we've actually gotten quite a bit of positive feedback, mostly via email. And that positive feedback has been, we understand where you're coming from. We understand the stock market is immoral. We even understand, charging interest on loans can be immoral. We understand these things, but what do we do now? That's the real question. Like, what do we do now? How should we be investing as Christians? It's a tough question to answer because people want, oh, you can't just put money into the stock market and be secure in your future. All right, we won't put money in the stock market. What else can we just put money into and be secure in our future? And that's the wrong question to ask because there is no easy fix. Because if you're looking at it that way, no matter what you would put money in just to be secure in your future, you're going to be reaping where you have not sown. You are going to be committing that sin of speculation. You are going to be divorcing yourself from the nuclear family and causing all these societal ills. That's what's going to happen if you're just like looking for an alternative to the 401k IRA stock market that is going to make money in the same way and just as easy as the 401k IRAs and stock market. All right. So we need to change our thinking drastically. One, on the question that we always keep asking at C3 throughout this whole transition is, what is the goal? Right? That was one of our little titles that we had up there, right, on our last video. What is the goal? Is it economic prosperity? Is it economic security? Is it going on vacation when we're in our 70s? Or is it sainthood? Is it heaven? And if it's the latter, then our entire idea, our entire economic system needs to be kind of turned on its head. And by that, so the easy answer, the straightforward answer, no sugarcoating of how do you invest as a Christian. You raise a Christian family, you become part of a Christian community, you start a business, or save money, you work and earn your just wage, and you save money. Preferably, you start a business and engage in some kind of ownership. But it's raising a family, starting a business, engaging in Christian community. Those are the best ways for the Christian to invest, bar none. Like, that, as straightforward of an answer as I can give you. You're a Christian, you want to invest morally, you raise a Christian family, you engage in a Christian community, you start a Christian business. That's what you should do. Now, a Christian business doesn't need to be like you're publishing Christian books. You could be an auto body shop, you could be a carpenter, you could be a website designer, you could be anything, as long as you're doing it with Christian values in mind. So that's the straightforward answer, but I understand that it is not the easy answer. Because there is no easy answer. There's just not an easy answer. There's not this Christian mechanism that is going to allow you just to put money in and then receive more money at a later date without doing any work, because that in itself is not a Christian thing to do. And we can talk about retirement and where that came from, and the 401ks and where that came from, and how even the person who invented the 401k is not a big fan of it. And we can talk about all these things. And retirement has become this thing where it used to be for people. I mean, retirement started as pension plans in like ancient Rome because it was for soldiers when soldiers were no longer able to fight and they, paying for serving and all that kind of stuff. Retirement has become this thing where you just reach a certain age, whether you're able-bodied or not, and you get to stop working and just be taken care of, and you kind of live off of the production of others, even if you're able-bodied yourself. Retirement, even when it first came about, was, I guess, a little bit more Christian because when it was first kind of introduced to society, it was more of a, I'm speaking off the cuff here, but when retirement was first about, it was when you were no longer able to work. But retirement now has just become you reach a certain age, whether you're able to work or not, you just get to say, bye, I'm going to go do my own thing now and just make sure my bank account looks good. Um, it's just not a Christian approach. Like the Christian approach should always be uh, family taking care of family, should always be um, working and producing as long as you can work and produce for the betterment of society, the betterment of community, for the common good. And I understand that all these things come across as hard to swallow because it goes against generations of financially ingrained prudence, right? Like of ingrained financial prudence that we've been taught and brought up in, that, independence is great. You don't need your family. You can go off, do your own thing. The stock market's going to be that safety bet at the end of your life, whether via a 401k or IRA or whatever company plan. And one thing I got to stress here is we'll know a tree by its fruits. And we may have produced quite a bit of economic prosperity, but we've also produced a lot of economic collapse. And we can talk about, the increased rates of anxiety and depression and suicide and, sacrificing our children at the altar of convenience before they're even born. We can talk about the decay of the nuclear family, the bleeding of the church, and all these things, and the role that this kind of slothful, greedy way of investing has cultivated. But one thing we need to keep in our minds is that the words easy and good are not synonyms. And for good reason. The hard narrow path, right, leads to salvation and the good. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid that, the good thing is hard, the bad thing is easy. It's really, really easy to be bad. It's really, really hard to be good. And there was a lot of wisdom in that because, now in 30 years later in modern day society that we think of ease and good as synonyms. As long as you're comfortable, then it's good. And I don't have an easy solution because I understand that, and trust me, I understand. Like I have, over the past 14 months, 15 months, I have basically condemned every single way I made money for my family. And uh it's been stressful. Let's just say that. It's been stressful. Like, I had a really cushy full-time job and I didn't agree with what they were doing and how they were making money and paying me my paycheck, and then it goes to the market and all the different ways I was making money investing, and like I don't do any of those things anymore. So it got to this point of uh for myself it became very, very stressful because I keep dismissing these ways of making money, and it's because I keep asking myself, what is the goal? Just because it's easy, it's not good. And what is the goal? Is the goal heaven, or is the goal just comfort and economic prosperity? And I think for the Christian moral conscience, like that, the answer to that question is very easy to come by. It should always be sainthood. It should always be heaven. But at the same time, I know that, like I said just a little bit ago, generations of financial teaching have taught us that, like, no, that's what you do. You invest in the stock market. We've been so devoid from family unit. We don't take care of our parents. We put them into nursing homes. We put them into these assisted living communities. We once our kids turn 18, they got to get out of the house, like, and they can do that because they can take out a loan from the government to, go to college or something. Like, all of these things of, like, it's all about working towards being by myself with a healthy bank account. That's how we've oriented our society. We're working towards being by ourselves with a healthy bank account. And what does it gain a man to have the whole world, but, to, I mean, I'm not going to quote a bunch of scripture here. I mean, you guys all know it. If you're watching this channel and you're reading Christ Center Capital stuff, I'm sure you're well versed. But this causes for a problem. Like, we can say we need to raise Christian families, we need to engage in Christian community, we need to start Christian businesses, and we need to work and produce as long as we can, even if we do have enough money to sit and be idle, because that's not good for society. We can say these things, and that's exactly what we have to do, but it's not an easy answer. And it's very, very hard to, rip off that band-aid and divest and take your money out, and now you don't know where the security is going to come from. You don't know if your kids are going to take care of you. You don't know if your parents are going to need to be taken care of. You don't know if you'll lose your job tomorrow. And these are legitimate fears. These are fears that, you know, as far as the virtue of prudence says, we should be somewhat concerned about, but they can't be crippling. Because at the end of the day, we're all dust to dust. I mean, we're not going to be here forever, no matter what, no matter how much money we have in our bank account. Even though we got some billionaires out there that are freezing their heads so, they can maybe be resurrected to some extent when technology allows their head to be put on a robot or something. And yeah, that is really happening. But I think we need to rely more on, first, God, and secondly, family, and not so much on mammon. We rely so much on money, so much on financial institutions. And because they tell us that they're going to provide security. But here's the kicker. They're going to provide. So the reason that we don't just save money, right? Like, start our business, save money for the future a little bit. The reason we don't just save money is because we're worried about inflation, right? That's why we save. That's why we put money into the stock market. One, we want to earn even more money. We're greedy creatures. We want as much profit as possible. Nothing against being rich or acquiring riches as long as it's through just means. Stock market is not just means. But the real reason most people invest in the stock market is because they don't want to just save money. They don't want their money to lose value because of inflation. Well, talk about feeding the beast of your own demise, because over the past, I don't know, 20 years, something like that, I'm pulling the dates off the back of my head. I don't know them for sure, but over the last 20 years, only like 30% of economic growth has been attributed to the actual production of goods and services. Because the other 70% or 75% of economic growth is because of abstract investing in from 401ks, IRAs, stock market investing, and like, so it's increased the supply of money because you invest and then the demand goes up, and then you reinvest or you sell, and it increases. Investing in the stock market increases the demand, or the supply of money, but there's no actual like goods to spend it on. And that's where inflation comes in. Because what is inflation? I mean, you learn it in economics 101. It's too much money chasing too few of goods. And with 70% of our economic growth over the past 2 decades or more being not from the production of goods and services, you can understand that, like, by investing in the stock market, by engaging in the 401k, and by doing those things, you are propping up the monster of inflation that you're afraid of, why you're not saving money in the first place. And I know this comes because a lot of people don't understand how the world of finance works, the world of economics works, and I believe the powers that be, our overlords, kind of make it that way on purpose. They want to keep those things a secret. But remember, inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. Only a quarter of economic growth over the past 2 decades has been because of actual production of goods and services. So 70% of the economic growth, or more, has been because of abstract growth and by investing into the stock market, and there hasn't been any actual goods or services produced. And this is what's causing inflation. So you're investing into the stock market to protect against inflation, but by investing, you are causing inflation. Do you see where things just become so ridiculous when you actually go through it with that fine tooth comb? Again, I'll end it with this. The answer to how a Christian should invest is raise a Christian family, engage in Christian community, start a Christian business. That's how. That's way harder than just putting money into your 401k or buying some stock. It is way harder. I understand that. And I know it's going against the entire grain of society, going against all of society and all of financial prudence that we've been taught. And maybe we all become destitute when we're 70 years old and we can't afford anything and we don't have the ability to work and our kids won't talk to us. And at that point, if that happens, I mean, our Lord loves the poor, right? Would he ever condemn us, our eternal reward, because we tried to do something justly in his name and it didn't work out? Do we even think it wouldn't work out? I don't know. That's a food for thought. One thing Christ Center Capital is going to be doing in the next few months, we're going to really work hard on trying to put it together, is we are going to start a Christian community where we can connect people who want to start Christian businesses with other people who want to help them in their own communities. So if you're some guy from Toledo that wants to start a Christian XYZ business and you need ABC expertise to do it, we're going to work on creating a community to where you guys can be connected within your own communities and actually work together face to face, be tangible, start that Christian business, and within it, start that Christian community. That's something we're going to work hard towards. I don't know how it's going to come to fruition, but that's going to be one of the main goals of C3 moving forward. And that's all I got for you. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment. Go check out the ChristCenterCapital.com website. Sign up for the newsletter. All that good stuff. We greatly appreciate it. And remember, easy and good are not synonyms. God bless.